This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
Should the son of Sam Law be changed? That's the argument that is being made right now in reaction to Asa Ellerup's Peacock G-Unit payday when it comes to the documentary that she is participating in for the Peacock Network. They're trying to get that little loophole that's in there removed where family members can profit off of a book, a movie, documentary, in this case, from someone that has allegedly committed a horrible crime, like her husband is accused of, Rex Heuermann, accused of being the Long Island serial killer. This is an interesting argument, and I'm curious to get your take on this. Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. Go and download that as soon as you're done listening to this. Always fascinating conversations in that show. I don't even know how I feel about this. Number one, I don't really think it's a great thing that Asa's getting $1 million payday on this, although it's rights to use her image. That's how they're wording it, so it doesn't look like Peacock's paying her. But at the same point, if you're going to go down this road and this is going to be the change in the law, not everyone is Asa Ellerup. Not every family member of a horrible, evil human being is out there trying to get a big payday. Sometimes they're just trying to live their life and be a victim advocate, like Carrie Rawson, BTK's daughter, is a prime example, where I would say, yeah, she deserves to make a living to support herself while at the same time doing good, even though it is connected to something very tragic. But there is a positive spin to it. Not always feeling that here with Asa. Bob, what are your thoughts on this proposal to this bill?
Much like you, it's kind of a fascinating area to delve into because, you know, the thing specifically with Asa is I understand that she's filed a petition for dissolution, but the fact of the matter is she's not divorced, and that money is technically marital, meaning that it's half his, prison or not, jail or not.
Yeah.
It's part of the marital estate. So technically, he is making money. He is profiting from it by way of Asa signing the deal. Now, obviously, and she signed it before the divorce was finalized.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a pretty strong legal argument there that it's in violation of it. But, you know, like you said, you do have situations where, like, you have, and like people like, so I think sometimes forget that, like, people like Carrie Rawson, or, you know, if you really do have a spouse that is unwitting as to what their husband is doing and turns out that they're a monster and they didn't know, they're victims. It's a much different type of victim than obviously the people that lost their lives or the victims' families. But, you know, they're a victim nonetheless. And I mean, like Carrie Rawson, like you said, like I'm a huge advocate for her, you know, because like I'll be on Twitter and I'll see people coming after her.
Yeah.
Like repeatedly, like, oh, you're making money. You wrote a book. Oh, you're making money for TV appearance. I'm like, so what? I'm like, she had like she's using the trauma that she survived. And like, I always want to try to, like, there was a way I could pull somebody out, like, through my phone and just sit them down and say, hey, you know what? Like, I want you for 1 second to try to walk like a step, not even a mile, in Carrie Rawson's shoes, and try to understand the kind of trauma that she went through and continues to go through and still struggles with to this day. Yeah. And she's fighting all that in order to try to provide some insight that probably a handful of people on the planet could provide in terms of that kind of terror, that kind of trauma, and how to survive it. And not only that, like really trying to help shut down and like she's on the side of like advocate of the son of Sam law. You know what I'm saying? Like she really is. But in terms of like, she's trying to assist law enforcement to hang more victims on her father. You know what I'm saying? It's like her whole side of it is like, I'm very protective of Carrie whenever I see people coming after her. Yeah. So like, I mean, you make a great point. I mean, there are certainly circumstances where, you know, people that are willing to do work and believe me, writing a novel is work. And when you're having to go through something as traumatic as that and reliving it in terms of writing a book, believe me, she's feeling every bit of that.
Yeah.
Like when she's, and like to say that somebody that's willing to put themselves out there and expose herself to the hate.
Yeah.
Like they're just people out there that just are like, that there is no, there's no getting through to them. They're like, no, man, it's like no one should be profiting off this. I mean, like, cause you can extend it to what we do.
Oh yeah.
Like the entire true crime, like we're all making money talking about other people's misfortune.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we always hear about that argument. I think that all of us have tried to shift to a much more ethical approach to it.
Yeah.
I think that all of us are trying to be way, way more considerate of the victims and their families' feelings.
Yeah.
I think that, you know what I'm saying? It's like back when it was all sensationalized, like they weren't even thinking about the victims. So I think in a very positive way that we've made a huge turn with respect to how we're treating the content, understanding that this is, that we're covering the worst day of someone's life and then the worst day of their family's life, many times. And that we have to be incredibly respectful of that and do things with, with grace and kindness and the understanding that this is, a very traumatic experience for somebody. So, but at the same time, we're still doing it, and there's a lot of I don't know that there's a bigger genre out there right now than true crime.
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
so
I think it really comes down to intent on something like this, but how do you legislate intent when one person's intent can be completely good? Like in our world, it's informing, it's educating, it's helping people understand this world and the monsters that are out there in it and the psychology of it. In Carrie's case, she's out there, and like you said, one of the very few people on the planet who has the perspective that she does from where she came from to help, to be a victim advocate, to be doing good and taking that trauma and making it for good. And then you have something like this where I don't know what Asa's intents are, but on the surface, it doesn't look good optic-wise. It looks very much like trying to profit off of this death or these murders. I mean, it could be different, but if one has the intent of let's get a payday out of this and it's not for good, I see where this law would make sense or the expansion of the law would make sense. But again, I feel like the Asa Ellerups of the world are like 1 in 100 out of everyone else who may be in a situation like this. So it's a tricky place.
Yeah, it is. And as far as Asa goes, I mean, we kind of do have an idea. I mean, when she made the play to get the guns back, crying for, I mean, like we know that she's making the play for the money. Yeah. She's claiming that, she doesn't have the money to live. Like I don't know what their financial situation is. I know that they own multiple properties. I mean, the guy was an architect.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they have some assets. I don't know. But
we don't know. But
like with her, the only way that I can see it is it's kind of sleazy. That's just how I feel about her. That's what the optics are on it. And that's why I'm really, we had this conversation like a few weeks back about, the intent of that filmmaker, the documentarian, is to nail her. Yeah. Like that thing that we always talk about, like, how couldn't she know? Mm-hmm. And then we have these affidavits that slip out with John Ray getting them out there to the world that, with these sex parties that were going on, and you had to know that Asa was there. And if you don't think that the documentarians are aware of all of that, you're nuts. Yeah. If she doesn't think that they're aware of all that, she's nuts. Yeah. And if she doesn't think that their entire goal is to get just another Robert Durst, the Jinx, hot mic situation where she's mumbling something to herself that is she's nuts. I mean, that's 100% what they're trying to do. And you know what? I mean, if you've got that kind of vibe that I do, that these are ill-gotten gains, that, she's not going into this with clean hands, that, then you're kind of rooting that karma's going to turn around and slap her in the face. And, she's going to end up regretting this beyond regret because it's going to turn around and bite her in the butt. But I mean, only time will tell.
Yeah, that's it. We just got to sit here, watch and see if karma does come around.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.